Luxury items can be very beautiful, but they're not always practical. And in this video, I show you 4 luxury items that I own that are both beautiful and practical. Hi, if you're new to Paws Bound, welcome. I'm Niki, and while this channel is mostly about my husband and I and our 5 pets, making the move to Mexico, and retiring in early 2026, I also like to sprinkle in some other topics that I'm passionate about, like luxury, concerts, debt, and what it's like to live in Tampa, Florida. And if this interests you, please check out my other videos and consider subscribing. I remember the luxury bug taking over me in high school. My dad used to work in fine jewelry, which often has its perks of free or majorly discounted jewelry, some of which I still own today. I think my first exposure to luxury was my Gucci watches in high school. I loved these watches, especially this one, because I could change out the bezels with my outfits. And when it's 1989 and you're 17, you're just trying to look hip and cool. Unfortunately, these watches, they haven't run in years, and I think I have to send them off to Texas if I want to get them running again. And then there was my first out-of-state trip with my girlfriends while I was in college. We drove to Atlanta, which is about an 8-hour drive from Tampa. And I remember it was 1992 and I was 20 years old because I had just bought Pearl Jam's first CD, 10. And I played the shit out of that CD all the way up to Atlanta and all the way back to Florida. When we were in downtown Atlanta, I bought a fake Fendi. It was a monogram bucket bag. I don't even know how much I paid for it. It couldn't have been very much because I was a poor college student and I was working 2 jobs and splitting the cost of gas for the Atlanta trip with my girlfriends. But I loved that bag. Even though it was fake, it was cheap, it was frayed, and it came apart. In my 20s, I would go to outlet malls and I would buy things like Giorgio Armani shoes. Louis Vuitton came into the picture when I started working at Arthur Andersen when I was around 28 years old. I walked into Saks Fifth Avenue on my lunch break and I bought the monogram pochette. Are you ready? I bought it for $165. And I kept this bag until lockdown when I sold it for 4 times that amount. And going off on a tangent, I really only think luxury becomes an investment if you buy the item for a low price, you keep it for a long time, and then you sell it when the luxury market conditions are favorable to the seller. And it needs to be a timeless piece. I had a Louis Vuitton Summit Drive bag that I kept for 20 years, and I took a loss on it when I sold it. It wasn't in style, and it wasn't timeless. It was also patent leather, which I will never own again because someone bumped into me on the way out of a grocery store and my bag scraped across a concrete wall. And that scrape, it never came out. So a few years ago, I had some major luck when I bought this Dior book tote on the RealReal for $750. Someone had priced it incorrectly and I jumped on it. I waited a few weeks and I sold it to Fashion File and made a $2,000 profit. And that kind of luck has never happened since. And I wouldn't have gotten the same profit today had I waited to sell it, since the luxury market, it has taken a really big dump for sellers. And don't even get me started on my comfort show, the one in which I curl up on the couch or in bed and I binge watch for hours. The one in which my husband Don told me what channel it was on the night before our Mexican consulate visit in Orlando back in December. I think that he knew that I was stressing pretty hard and that I was worried about that visit. And he knew that this was the one show that would put me in my happy place. The one in which in 2007, along with that show, Lipstick Jungle. Do you remember that one? It had Brooke Shields in it. Well, that show and this other one, it made me think, you know what? Maybe we can move to New York. We actually ended up in Connecticut, but that's close enough. Yeah, I am talking about Sex and the City. That show was all about the luxury brands, many of which that I hadn't heard of yet. It was my first time of learning about Hermes Birkins. I had no idea about the brand. It was also the first time that I actually saw young women carrying Chanel instead of old wealthy ladies. I loved that show then when I was able to watch it as a young woman, just starting her life. And I love it still as a menopausal woman slowing down in life. So my love of luxury extends well beyond 35 years. I've carried many luxury handbags, and although my luxury handbag purchases over the last few years, they're actually all paid for because I tend to pay off luxury purchases quickly, so I don't have to carry that guilt of how much I've spent on an item. In fact, my current credit card debt, the last three cards that I'm paying off this year, are actually from old purchases, from things that I no longer even own, debt that has just followed me around for decades, debt that I have been doing those balance transfers on, but then not paying off before the promo period was up. And if you want to see more about how I was stupid with money, I'll link that below. But what I have in my current collection, it's actually all paid for. Okay, so let's get into some of my most used luxury items, starting with handbags. And first up, and I've talked about this one before, this is my Louis Vuitton Neverfull, and I love this bag. I have an Amazon liner in it to help keep the shape. But this bag, it's been through everything. It has been through rainstorms. It's been shoved under airplane seats. It's been through snow. I've tossed it around. You name it. And with most of my bags, I bought it pre-loved. I buy from Fashion File and The Real Real. And that's pretty much it. I've never had an issue with these two sites. So the canvas on this bag, it's really durable. The only issue that I am starting to have is that this tab here that helps cinch in the bag, it's broke. Okay, next up is my vintage Hermes Evelyn, and this is in Clemence leather. I didn't realize how much I would actually love this bag and how much it's become part of my everyday uniform. The inside, it's basically just a big black hole. But somehow I always seem to be able to find what I need. Because this one doesn't have an adjustable strap, and I am a plus size woman, I had to add some purse extenders that I got off of Amazon. They're currently on my other most used handbag that I'll show you next. But right now I have this bandolier guitar strap that has an eyeglass case attached. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this set up, as I actually forgot my glasses were in this strap when I went to that concert with my girlfriends the other night, and I forgot my glasses. And they're prescription reading glasses, which kind of made it tough to see anything close up that night. So both this bag and my Neverfull, they're workhorses. I'm not delicate with my bags, especially when I'm running around grocery shopping or I'm just out running errands. In my mind, I'm a delicate princess, but the reality is that I am a sweaty hot mess in the Florida heat. Okay, so let's move on to the last handbag that is my most used, and that's my Celine Teen Soft 16 bag. I wasn't sure about this bag in the beginning. I mean, the size is great, and I love the color, and I love the quality of the leather, but I have two complaints. So I like bags that have just one compartment, and this one has a partition. So the second issue that I have with the Celine teen bag, even though it's one of my most used bags, it's the strap. It's attached in a really weird way. I feel like the strap should be attached like a little bit further out, and the strap should be thinner. I think it would lie across my body in a better way if the strap were probably half the thickness. But what turned it around for me on this bag was the fact that I could attach those Amazon extenders to make it fit better across my body. And because this bag it's just soft and flexible and really easy to get into, the partition doesn't really bother me. Okay, so let's move on to shoes now. So most designer shoes, they're beautiful, but they're uncomfortable. So I have a couple of pairs of these Chanel dad sandals. And they're okay if I wear them for a few hours, but any more than that, and my feet tend to hurt. I've had feet issues throughout my entire adult life. I've had plantar fasciitis, Morton's neuromas. I've had very painful cortisone shots over the years. I've had cryosurgery done. And since September, I've had a nagging ankle injury where I've had to ice it down a lot. I really need to get to a podiatrist to get it checked out. And I'm sure my love of designer shoes over the years, it's contributed to the issues that I have in my feet. So 90% of the time I'm in my fit flops. They give great support for walking, but they don't support my entire foot. And because I stopped wearing real shoes when I started working from home full time, I think that my feet now reject most closed-toed shoes, coupled with the fact that I'm getting older and I've put on menopause weight. But then in 2021, Chanel came out with these sandals. And again, I buy most of all of my luxury items pre-loved. I try not to pay full retail. If the luxury market was in better shape right now, I would sell my dad's sandals and only have these. These sandals are amazing. And what's different is that they aren't flat like the dad sandals are. They're slightly sloped, which my foot loves. They're so comfortable. And other than my flip-flops, they are the only other sandal that I reach for. The back strap, it keeps my foot and ankle steady. And it has enough padding on the heel and the right heel height. It's just a really well-designed designer sandal. And I have them in black, green, and gray, and I love them all. So there you have it, my 4 luxury designer items that are both beautiful and practical. Do you have these items as well, or other designer bags and shoes that are both practical and beautiful? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Hasta luego, my friends.